Hey plant friends, welcome back. Today I wanted to work with soil blocking. I wanted to try out the DIY soil blocker I made, compare it to the one I had bought previously. I bought it last year and see how they hold up against each other, see if spending more money is worth it or not. So because I'm going to be trialing the two different soil blockers, I also wanted to try out a new soil blocking recipe and compare that to the one I had used previously, which was just straight up potting soil, and see how the two compare. Sit back, grab a cup of tea, and let's get to it. For this soil block recipe, I am going to use a recipe created by Regenerative Gardening, a YouTube channel, so go check her out. She has a lot of great information, tips, and tricks. So I'm going to stray from her original recipe a bit just because I can't find exactly what she used locally, and I don't want to order it online. I want to see if I can use what I have around here first. It's the Fox Farm Coco Loco. 4 parts of this. Next, we're going to use 1.5 parts of the coconut coir. It's a little chilly in the shed again, so I don't know if you can tell, but the coconut coir is steaming because I rehydrated it inside. The coconut coir I use is a brick I just got from my big box store. Has information on the back on how to rehydrate, so I did that ahead of time. That'll help with your measurements to get them more accurate. The next thing she used was green sand. Apparently that comes from the ocean floor. I don't have any of that around, so what I use is I'm going to use some desert sand, and I also have some kelp meal. I mix those in a ratio of 2 parts sand, 1 part kelp. It does say on the back of the kelp that it can be mixed with most fertilizers and soil conditioners. It can also be incorporated into potting soils, seed and transplant beds, as well as with composting material. I'm hopeful that this won't burn our plants. Sometimes too strong of a compost can burn the little seedlings, so let's see how this works. So this will be a 1/2 part. That I didn't mention, she sifts her soil before. I don't have a sifter with me, so I won't be doing that today. If that's something you would like to do, it will help take away any of the bigger twigs that might be in your potting soil, so that way it's not in your soil block. Lastly, we're going to add water. For this recipe, it's 2.5 to 3 parts water. I also speculate if you don't have, or if you don't want to use the sand and kelp or the green sand, that you could just use more coconut coir. Try it out, see what happens. Alright, that looks good. What I'm doing now is adding some ground cinnamon to our soil mixture. That will help reduce any algae buildup that could happen in the soil. Smells wonderful. I like adding cinnamon just for the scent. If you saw my last video, you saw me using the small 3/4 inch soil blocker. The reason I'm not using that today is because I want to pot up my artichokes. Artichokes might not be quite ready to pot up yet. I just was worried because I probably shouldn't have started them in such a small soil blocker. I should have started them in the larger one. It's because I feel like there's not enough room for the roots to grow. So we're going to pot these up today. First up, going to do the 2-inch traditional soil blocker that I bought. This is the Ladbroke brand. I'll put a link in the description below. What I like to use is just a paint scraper to kind of scrape down, make sure everything's even. They're all at the same height. Get off any excess soil that may be in the bottom. Let's see how this worked. Ooh, beautiful. They hold up really nice. I like the support it has. I think I'm going to like this recipe. I like this a lot.
I like this a lot.
The soil blocker I made, I had bought 2 pieces of 2-foot length pipe at my local hardware store. This one was 2-inch width, and this one is 1.25 inches. What I did was I cut this one down to 4 inches in size, so I have room to pack soil down. Then I added a cap for the 1.25 inch size because that's a smaller one. Just fits on the top like that. On the inside we added a carriage bolt, 3/8 inch carriage bolt, and then we attached it on the inside. There's 2 jam nuts on the inside and secured it with a cap nut on the outside. That will help give us our indent where we can plant our little seed in. Alright, let's see how this works. So much easier than just this traditional potting soil. Let's keep going. This is fun. Okay. So this one we don't have to use a paint scraper. I'll set that aside. What I did notice on the inside is I wasn't quite sure how much soil to put in before we packed it down. So I guess if I use this enough I could put a mark on the inside so that way I would know. I'm kind of using the lip as a guide. Like this one has too much. So I feel like the consistent size will vary unless you, I guess you could measure. Let's see if I can measure. So what I did was I just grabbed a little planter I had and filled it with soil. This will give me more consistent sizing, and this is more about the size of the soil blocker. I love this. It's a little more time consuming making each individual one, but it's way less expensive. I only spent, let me add it up quick. So I probably spent $15 on this setup. I only cut 4 inches off of this, so I have a lot extra 2-inch. This we probably don't need as long, so you can make multiple of these. I would say you could line up a whole bunch of these, add in your soil, and then go and pack it down, or make them to give away to friends. So I'm getting much more consistent sizing, pre-measuring the soil before it goes in. This method also is messier. Obviously I'm getting dirt everywhere. As long as you don't mind that, and if you're on a budget, this is a great money-saving DIY anybody could do. I cut it using a hacksaw. I wonder if at the hardware store if they would cut it for you if you didn't have access to that at your house. What I've learned from this is that the soil recipe matters. These hold up way more than just the straight up potting soil that I used before. The 2 methods I used, the DIY one works wonderful. It takes a little bit longer, not much. I didn't mind it at all. It was actually kind of fun. It's way messier. I got splattered everywhere with dirt. The inconsistent in sizing, I tried using this, which helped give even measurements. This is a 3-inch succulent pot that I just had on hand. So as long as you can find the right amount of soil, it's fairly consistent. These were the first 2 I did before I measured. They're a bit taller. The rest of them are fairly consistent in size. Now the difference in pricing, this one cost me about $15 total. The most expensive thing was the cap, which was like almost $6. This I believe cost me almost $80. And this I just got from Amazon. There is some better quality ones on different websites that you can find. So it's all about your budget and what you have. I say this is so much fun, you should give it a try. And play around with the different sizing. If you're going to do the DIY one, try different size pipes and see what works for you. So now we're going to transplant our artichokes. Look at that root system. That's beautiful. Doesn't even have its first set of true leaves yet. So one thing I'm noticing with the DIY soil blocker is that it doesn't quite fit the 3/4 inch, obviously because we're not using the same size nut. So I might go up in size with the cap nut if you're trying to transplant. If you're starting seeds, it seems to be like a beautiful depth. Oh, look at that root system. That's so exciting. I love it. So beautiful. There's some benefits to soil blocking. First of all, it saves space. This is all you need to store. The containers I use, I just save throughout the year. This container was actually one of those take and bake pizzas from the grocery store. I just cleaned it out afterwards and saved it. You're just storing small stackable items and things that you can reuse that you don't necessarily have to buy an extra or make an extra purchase for. So this you might already have on hand. Another benefit of soil blocking is something called air pruning. What happens is the roots reach the air and they're like, wait a minute, that's not dirt anymore. So they stop growing and they produced more roots coming from the base of the plant. So they have multiple roots, which aid in the health of the plant. Creates a stronger plant that's more drought resistant, is able to tolerate pests more, just overall a healthier plant. One other thing I forgot about soil blocking to mention is that it decreases the transplant shock because you're not having to pull the seedling out of a plastic packaging. You can just plant this right in the ground as is. I just broke that leaf. Oh no. Shoot. So if I were to start these again, these are artichokes. The seeds were a little bit larger. I kind of knew when I was using the 3/4 inch soil blocker that they were a little bit too small for it. You can just see how it outgrows that size so fast. I would definitely start up in a bigger, this soil block size. Using the ones that have a little bit larger roots, and this side over here, just because the opening, the aperture that it has is a little larger than the hex nut I have over here. I want to make sure all the roots are covered in soil. Them not exposed. Don't want them to dry out. The way you water soil blocking plants is by underneath. So you want a tray that has a little bit of a lip. You put the water in the bottom of the tray and it absorbs. The soil wicks it up. If you put too much water in, what I do is just dump it out, put it in another seedling tray if you haven't watered that yet, or just dispose of it. You don't want too much water sitting in the bottom. By having too much water in the bottom, it can decrease the integrity of the soil blocks, make it mud, basically. Last one. I didn't even count. Almost had the perfect amount. I have one extra soil block here at the end. Here's the shell of the artichoke seed. So with the 3/4 inch soil blocker, it took up a big portion. I knew better. I shouldn't have done that. You live and you learn. I'm going to top these with some vermiculite, help with moisture retention. Alright, that's it for me. Thanks for joining. I hope this was helpful. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, tips, tricks, leave them in the comment section below. Let me know what works for you. I will get these under the lights. I will keep you updated. And I'm going to spend the rest of the afternoon hanging out with the family and making some dinner. Take care, friends. Bye-bye. These little seedlings look so healthy. I'm so happy.